You spend all week training at the field and then you show up in game, you make a mistake, and then you start hiding from the ball, then you're just like how I was for so long. And if you're a center mid, in this video, I'm giving you everything that I can fit into just one YouTube video on the methods that I used to train on my own and the mentality that it took to implement that training into my games. And this method took me from having no confidence, always playing backwards, always like getting the ball off my foot as soon as possible and being confused on like how I could put in so much work over the summer and then during the fall still be the same player. And I went from that to being a Division I captain. So if you're a center mid, this is for you. I got you. If you have any questions about it or you want to learn how it works to work with me remotely inside the program, just chat with me on Instagram. But take some notes, enjoy. Hopefully you can apply at least one gold nugget to your training the next time you go out there. If you've ever skipped hanging out with your friends to get an extra session in at the field, but then Saturday comes and you still play like a reserved version of yourself and you feel like there is this block in between you and the player you're supposed to be, then I got you. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you why your current training isn't helping you play free in games, how to train like a D1 center mid, and we're gonna break that down into how to define your 10 out of 10, the actual training habits that I have my athletes do inside my remote program, and then the secret that will put all of these habits together that most guys skip. And this is probably one of the most important parts, right? And I've been through exactly what you've been through, right? This is me in high school, and I was doing all the right things. I would literally spend hours getting all sweaty, especially over summer. I'd get 2-a-days in the gym, and I'd do ball mastery drills. I'd spend a lot of time at the wall getting extra touches because I saw on Instagram Reels that that's what you need to do. Everybody was like, okay, he's the team player, like he's the guy that helps. I had a great GPA, I was a leader. I heard things like, when you're not on the field, we miss you, or it's like, everything runs through him. I heard all these great things about me, and I was the best player in team training, but I would look at my own game film, and I would literally sit there and just cringe. I would cringe because everybody is telling me how good of a player I am and how important I am to the team. Everybody likes me because I just am the pass first guy. But then I looked at my film and I would see me have all this space in front of me to drive into, or I would have a shot that I should have taken myself. And then I would see me play so reserved and I would just pass it out to another guy, or I would just get the ball off my foot as soon as possible. And even though I had a good technical ability, so people told me that I had good composure, when I looked at myself playing, it looked like I was freaking out every time I got on the ball because there was a guy within 5 yards of me, right? And so that disconnect really messed with my head, and that was an epiphany for me realizing, okay, I am not where I want to be. And even though I have the talent, I know I have the D1 potential, I'm not playing like it. And everybody around me is going to give me feedback and tell me how good of a player I am, but no one's going to tell me the truth. Hey, you're not going to go and play D1 if you keep playing scared, you keep playing safe, and you don't ever hit a long ball, you don't ever drive forwards and break lines, you don't ever score a goal, right? Not that that's the only thing that matters, but the player that is constantly playing out of fear and avoiding mistakes is not going to get to this level. And that was me, even though I was doing all of the right things. So in this video, I'm going to break down why that was, why I would do everything I saw online and follow everybody's advice and still not actually play impactfully, and how it ended up breaking down this wall and getting me to the Division I level when I was a Division I captain at the College of Charleston, okay? And so first of all, we need to understand why your training doesn't translate to games. And I'm breaking it down into this triangle of wasted hard work, because the worst thing that you can do is spend another hour at the field when you're just going in the wrong direction. You're not just not improving, but you're actually ingraining bad habits in your own mind if you don't get these 3 things right. And this is exactly what I was doing wrong. First of all, most surface level stuff, this is probably what you already see online, is oh, you're not training the right things. Very few people actually talk about how to know how to train the right things, so I'm going to break that down in this video. But the first thing is you're not training the right things, right? No matter how many games of 2-touch you play, or how many times I was at the wall, getting 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, whatever, I was doing all these juggling work, that wasn't the thing that I actually needed to do in a game, right? I'm not saying you can never get touches, you can never go to the wall, you can never do ball mastery, but usually that's just an excuse for yourself to check a box, okay, I'm disciplined, I'm working hard, and I hit the wall, but it's not actually pushing you forward as a player. So you're probably not training the right things. You probably have never told or have never had a conversation with someone who gave you honest feedback on what you needed to train. So you're just wasting your time. And also your reps, talking to myself when I was younger as well, like my reps didn't matter because I had such poor training habits and poor training tendencies, right? And I would go out and I could even do the right things. I could even train, like maybe even watching my stuff for a little bit. And I talk about like training your in-game, your ideal game moment, or like the actual in-game situations you're going to find yourself in. Maybe you've been checking my stuff out and you know that, but if your reps are not done with the right training habits, then they just don't matter. And they go out into the abyss and it's just wasted reps. And I would do that. I thought that I was getting better and I really wasn't. That's why, again, like this kid would just play so fearful in games and not express himself. Even though when he just stopped thinking and trusted himself, he was good enough, right? You probably have good technical ability, right? It's not like we have to, teach you how to pass the ball or teach you how to take a shot. And if you do, maybe I can help with the mental stuff, but this probably isn't really for you. This is more for a player who's already been training on his own and has good technical ability. So like when you stop thinking and you play free, you know that you can compete with the best. But right now, you're not training in a way to get to that feeling of freedom. You're not training in a way to get your mentality right. You're just training in a way to get your reps right, to get your touch better. You see the difference? And like that's the disconnect that I did as well, because I never understood that there was a way to train. Like I had to train. I was supposed to train in the actual mental environment that I found myself in game. And because I missed that so much, like my feet in game felt like they were bricks. When I was in team training or I was doing the sessions on my own, I felt like I was Neymar. You know what I mean? And it's because my reps weren't right. You can tell I'm passionate about this, and this is going to be really helpful for you if you're similar to how I was. And the last thing is you probably just change way too much. You probably never got a conversation again. You never had a conversation with someone that put you on the right path, that actually looked at your game and then showed you how like to train and gave you enough confidence to commit to it for more than just 1 week at a time. Right? I know that there's private trainers, and I used to get told to work with private trainers in my area, but I saw myself, like I was just going to be doing the same stuff that I saw him do for the outside backs, the right backs, the strikers. And like he never actually would have sat down, looked at my film, talked with me. It never would have evolved. I never would have had a clear plan. It just would have been another session I could have done on my own. Right? And so a lot of times if you don't have somebody who gives you that overview, this is why I stress to my athletes so much, like we have to sit down and take time to diagnose you and really see who you are as a player, because if not, then you're going to be like, oh, I don't know if I should be doing this. Or it's like, oh, I see this video of Busquets, I'm just going to try to do this. And you just change too much. And if you're trying to fill every single cup up at once, none of them actually get filled, right? So if you do these three things, I'm going to go way more in depth. That's why your hard work is being wasted. That's why you're not playing as well as you should. Okay. So first thing is undeniable training habits. Okay. Actually, no, I'm going to start over here. First thing is defining your 10 out of 10. I'm going to go more in depth on each of these. The first thing, if you don't get this right, nothing matters. Right? Imagine trying to, you're on vacation with your family. Maybe you get to drive, or if you're not driving yet, like you're in charge of the maps or the GPS of directing you guys where to go. You're in like a new city. You don't know where the grocery store is. What would happen if you just like kind of assume that the grocery store was like 20 minutes out this way? Right? This isn't one of those things where like you live like right next to the shopping center, right? It's like the grocery store is far away. What would you do to get there? You would put it into the GPS. Obviously, you'd put it into the GPS. Why? Because like you can't get to something, you can't achieve something if you don't actually know where it is. Okay? And if that sounds like really stupid and really obvious, well, that's what most of us struggle with in our lives and our development. Like we don't actually know who we want to become. Like ask yourself right now, like who do you actually want to become as a player? And I'll explain this more in depth, but like if you don't know that answer, then what's the point of anything that you're doing? Because then you're just like traveling forwards, but like you don't have a direct line, you don't have any direction, you're gonna get knocked off track and you're just gonna be like, okay, I guess I'm going this way, because you never had that GPS endpoint, okay? So nothing matters if you don't know who your 10 out of 10 is. So what I mean by 10 out of 10, it's the best version of you, the top version of you. And one of the questions that you can ask is, what comes easy to me? Like, what do I have to try very little at, yet I'm still great at? And like, this is where you just have that natural ability, or maybe something that you've trained over time that you don't realize that you're great at. And like, what comes easy to you. Like I had a conversation with an athlete the other day, and like he had been training, we'd been doing all this work, and then we had an honest conversation. And it was like, look, dude, like I was looking at his film. I was like, I've never told you to do, like what he was doing is getting the ball, defender would come and he would do like a quick separation, like at the top of his own box as a 6. You know what I mean? So like took some confidence at the top of his own box, did a quick separation and drove forwards and muscled the guy off. And I was like, look, we've never like really trained that. I never told you to do that. You never really told me that you were great at that, but that looked really easy for you. He was like, yeah, you know, like I don't know, like it just came like when I was younger, I was like really good at 1v1s and like whatever. And I was like, okay, like bang, like that's part of our 10 out of 10. That's what comes easy to you. So that's what you have to get even better to create that X factor, right? And so every guy's a little bit different. If you don't really have it like top of mind, that's okay. It's gonna come naturally. Maybe it'll pop up and you're like, oh, like, okay, you know, this is what kind of comes naturally. This is what I don't have to try that hard at, yet I'm really good at. You know what I mean? So that's the first question that you can ask yourself. And then another thing that can help define your 10 out of 10 is either looking at your own film, and this will help answer this question up here, is looking at your own film and really saying like, okay, like when I'm at my best, like pick a time or a game where you knew you were hitting flow state and you were just doing your thing. And then looking at your film and saying, okay, like this is who I am as a player. Like I don't really train that. That's just something that naturally came. You know, like for me, like I felt like I was always just like silky driving on the ball. And I think that's just because when I was younger, like I would just constantly be in the basement getting touches, and like I would like be watching highlights and I would just like be doing it myself. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but like when I was in high school, that was something that I was really good at. And then it kind of evolved. Like when I got older and I was a senior in high school, you know, I just decided who my 10 out of 10 was, because I was like, okay, I'm just going to be the guy that scores goals. So I combined the things. I combined, you know, being able to dribble and like a quick 1v1 move and then finishing. I literally just like that shooting was something that like I never really scored goals, but I also like when you put me in front of the goal, I had that composure to find the bottom corner. So it was again something that came pretty easy to me that I didn't try like that hard at. I got a ton of reps, but I was pretty great at it, and that, you know, helped me commit Division I because I identified what did I want to be great at and what am I naturally great at. You know what I mean? If you don't have anything that you're naturally great at, then you get to choose. You know what I mean? Or if like you're naturally great at playing 5 yards back passes, just like I was, then we have to choose something else. Okay, obviously, like we can't choose to just like be really good at throw-ins or something, unless, I mean, your call. But we can choose to a certain extent as well. And looking at your film can help. I put this in, like ask somebody. I never really did this because the truth is, like, you know, you can go to an ID camp and you can play for a few hours in front of a coach and they can give you feedback. You know, it might be specific, or it's something like speed of play can be better, you know, your physical strength can be better. And then that just means like they don't really know. They don't really have an answer, because I know, because I used to, you know, give feedback to players that I was like, look, dude, like honestly, I just wanted to say, like, you're probably just not at the level. But like, you know, you can always just improve the speed of play and the physicality. I'm not saying that if somebody tells you that, that means you're not at the level, but it's just when a coach didn't either watch you, doesn't even know you enough, or like he's just trying to give you the traditional answer, because like every coach is going to give you that answer. If they do give you specific feedback, you just have to be careful applying it, because that's a coach, if you're going to ID camp, that's a coach who's seen you just for a few hours and is giving you feedback that you're probably going to take pretty heavily, because you're like, oh, he's a college coach. You have to just think like, okay, is this the direction I want to go in before you commit to that, right? Because I would have an ID, like I would have somebody tell me like, oh, like your weak foot needs to improve. And then like the guy before was like, your weak foot's really good. And my weak foot was like pretty good. I was like, oh, okay, like what's going on? Then I would go and train my weak foot and I didn't have any conviction and any confidence in it because it wasn't right for me. You know what I mean? So that's why you have to be a little bit careful. And same thing with even like your club coach. Like I had amazing coaches, club and high school coaches. Like they helped me a ton, but it's not fair to put your personal development into their hands. Because if you go up to them, you're like, hey, coach, like, what do I really need to improve at? They're going to give you an answer, but their answer is going to be a little bit skewed, because think about their lens. Like, put their lens on for a second. They're watching you as a part of the bigger puzzle piece, right? So for me, if I ask, like, what can I be great at? They're just going to be like, hey, like, you can be really great at just like moving it side to side. Why? Because they just want me to play safe, not give the ball away, whatever. But if they were like in my corner and they were watching my film for hours and they really knew who I was as a player, you know, and they wanted me to get to the next level, and like I'm saying this because like this is a little bit into like some of the conversations I have with my athletes, then it would probably be like, hey, like you're really good at this, and we don't just want to get rid of it completely, but you know, you're way better than just like playing simple and safe, right? And then like usually the athlete's like, yeah, like absolutely. I'm like, okay, like, well, like, would you help your team more if you started hitting longer diags? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, like if you hit the diag and we practiced and we got really good at it, would that help or hurt your team? And they're like, you know, you could start to see the eyes being open. It's like, well, that would absolutely help my team. I was like, well, why? Why would that help your team? And it's like, well, because I train a lot and like I have the ability to hit the diag. And what happens if I hit the diag? Well, if I hit it over the top and it's accurate, we're not just like playing long ball. But if I hit it over the top, then my winger's going to get it. He can go across, we can score. Versus like me just playing side to side, like only my outside back gets it. And then we just keep getting pressed, we never break lines. And it's like, oh, okay. So now we start to see like how the individual can actually impact games. And then it's like, okay, like, hey, like what you're really good at is like, I've looked at your film for this many days. It's like, hey, you can really drive forwards. You can just do this. You can, and like, so now you're getting feedback as long as they are there for your individual player development and your individual career, then you can take feedback from that. But like the truth is a club coach has you, 20 other players and 3 other teams to worry about. So he's not necessarily focused on just getting you to the like point where college coach will recognize you. Now you might be thinking, well, Chris, like, does that mean like I just go and like, you know, be a terrible team player? No, you have to and like I have other, like the last video that was kind of like a in-depth breakdown. I explained this as well. Like you have to sell yourself on the fact that if you play more confident, if you play more free, if you take more risks and play more selfish, your team will benefit more. And that's something that club coaches and high school coaches have a difficult time saying, because like then it's like they're setting you on a wild goose chase, and you know, then you're trying to figure out on your own, and you're like, they're gonna be like, oh, like why are you doing this, messing up, because you're not doing it properly. So this video will help to make sure you're doing that properly. Hopefully you get the point. Ask somebody, but just be careful because they might not actually be in your individual corner. Okay, that's why I tell my athletes like talk to me when you get feedback, not because coaches are bad, but because we just have to make sure it's aligned with who you want to be as a player to go and be a D1 center mid. Okay, and then last thing is so important. You have to be very, 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 very specific with who your 10 out of 10 self is. You must be able to see it in your mind. Like, so for me, when I was going into my senior year of high school, and I still didn't have any offers at the time. Like I defined my 10 out of 10. I was like, okay, like I saw it in my mind. I put myself on the stadium. I put myself in the jersey, and I saw the defenders I knew I was going to play against in the conference. And I saw the keeper, and I was like, okay, like my 10 out of 10 self, I get on the ball, my teammate passes me the ball here, I get on the half turn, I'm driving forwards, I hit a 1v1 onto my right foot, I get in behind and I slip it back post. Bang. You see how specific that was? And then in college, it was like, okay, like my center back has the ball. I was playing 6 at the time in college, and my center back has the ball. It's early on in the game. I drop down, demand the ball, even though he doesn't have to play. It's just like I need the ball at my foot. I demand the ball, give my print in the game. I drive forwards, I hit a long diag to my left winger, right? That's very, very specific. And it doesn't have to be like, you know, just one moment. Like some guys, it's just like, you know, being able to separate from a defender and driving forward. Some guys, it's like, you know, taking space and going at the center back 1v1. Like it doesn't have to have like 5 steps to it, but the more specific it can be, then you can actually see it in your mind, and that's going to lead to the other steps, which is how we train it. But if it's not specific, then you're not going to like, you don't have a GPS, right? It's like me telling you like to, you know, when you have an away game and you're going to a different city, and like your mom or dad puts in, like when you're younger, like your mom or dad puts in the GPS for like the city, and then you get into the city, into like the area, and then you have to put in the field number or like the field complex, right? So you kind of drove out there, but if it's not very, very specific, then you're just going to be in the city of Charlotte or the city of where I'm at in Charleston. And then you're going to have to go like, okay, like what is the sports complex? You know what I mean? So you can have that 10 out of 10 self, but you know, you're never going to be able to get to your destination if you aren't specific enough to see it in your own mind. Like, okay, this is where I'm going to go. This is who I'm going to be. Okay, this is really, really important. So you might want to take even extra time thinking, who is my 10 out of 10 self? Okay, next thing is having undeniable training habits. This is going to solve the fact that your reps are just going into the abyss right now. Okay, just like mine was, just like so many of my athletes that I work with now, your reps are just being wasted if you don't do these 3 things. So the first thing that you can do, and I have videos as well, like covering these 3 a little bit more in depth. The first thing I tell pretty much every athlete that comes into the program, I watch their clips back that they send in of them training, and I say walk between your reps, right? We've been brainwashed to think that like hard work means tons and tons and tons and tons of reps. Hard work does not mean tons and tons of reps. Hard work means focusing and doing the right things and getting the right mental space where each rep actually matters, right? Each rep actually matters. Okay, so one thing that you can do is walk between reps. Chances are you bring your ball bag out to the field, you go, you do the rep, you come back, and you're like naturally trying to get on your horse, like running back to the ball bag to go again. Maybe you missed the shot, you missed the pass, and you're like, okay, I gotta fix it, and you're running back, get the next ball, and then you're sprinting again. All that's teaching you is to not value the next rep. That's teaching you, okay, if I miss this rep, it's fine because I have another set of 5 balls back there I can go back to. Right? And this goes into a later one I talk about, like really making sure you're visualizing. But when you walk between reps, it allows you to reset a little bit, it allows you to get back your energy, and allows you to not treat reps as just like a number, but to treat reps as a game rep, as a game moment. Okay, because again, it doesn't really have to do with if you have the perfect drill. Again, you can do ball mastery and you can do like the drill you see online all day long, but if you're not in the right mental space, then you're just putting the reps into the abyss and you're not getting anything out of it. You know what I mean? Second thing is taking that deep breath before each rep. And I put this part because this is literally what I did. Like I credit this to so much of my success, and it's uncomfortable, it's weird. Your mind is not going to want to do it. Your mind is just going to want to do the rep on autopilot. But you have to take a deep breath before each rep, and this part is important. See yourself, for me, like in the stadium where you play at, maybe the complex where you play at, maybe your favorite field that you know you guys are gonna have games at, maybe it's like MLS Next Fest or an ECNL showcase, whatever it is. See yourself on that field, take a deep breath. Even better, I'll add this in, do the rep, like the game moment rep, on the part of the field that you would do it in game. Right? So for me as a 6, I would go and like if possible, if you can like have that space to do it, I would go around midfield and then drop 5 yards in and get the ball from my center backs because it's like we're pinning them into their own half. I'd get the ball from my center backs and I'd be at midfield, and then I would hit the long ball to the part of the field that my winger would actually be at. You know what I mean? Those are some things that we can do to make sure we're seeing ourselves in the stadium, we're doing the proper rep. Because if not, if you don't take the deep breath, and you don't see yourself in the stadium, then you're just gonna be doing the rep on autopilot. What I mean by autopilot is you're gonna be doing it with the same old habits without any intention, and it's gonna get you the same exact results, right? And if you're watching this video, you've probably been training for a while and you've probably been frustrated with how your training isn't translating how it needs to. And it's not just because you're not working hard, it's because you're not doing these 3 things, or I guess this whole video. But so once you take the deep breath, you can also remind yourself, like I have my athletes like focus and they have like one little cue to focus on to help them when they do their rep. Like maybe it's like go with intensity. Maybe it's like bigger prep touch to separate. Maybe it's like exaggerate the separation move, right? There's different things you can say. The deep breath is gonna allow you to be intentional about each rep. It's uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable, but it's the only way you're gonna get better. Okay, I've seen this work for all my athletes. Okay, third thing to remind yourself of is going at 115% speed. Right, I've read, it's actually right here. It's called the Talent Code, and I love this stuff. It just pretty much talks about how to optimize like human behavior and like us learning a task and getting better at a task. And one of the things he talks about is the sweet spot. There's this thing called myelin, and that is like the skill nerve in your brain, pretty much. And I could try to elaborate on that, but the way that our myelin, the thing that actually develops the skill, develops is by sitting in the sweet spot. The sweet spot is like if you ever played a video game, you keep failing the level, it's on your phone or something, you keep failing the level, but you're so close and you're enjoying it and you're having fun and you beat the level and it's like, yes, I did it, and you're on to the next. And it's just hard enough where you're failing a good amount of time, maybe like 20 to 30% of the time, but it's not like you're failing like 70% of the time where you just hate it, okay? The way we can do that is do each rep with 115% speed. 115% speed means you're not just going like an idiot where you're just like dribbling with your knees or whatever, but you shouldn't be successful every single rep. If you're doing like a drill where like some guys, like as they're practicing driving forwards with speed, like the drill will be super simple. Like we don't even need cones sometimes. Like just sprint forward as fast as possible, like 15, 20 yards, and then connect the pass just like you would in a game. And if they're doing that and I see every single time they're dribbling, like it's clean and like they don't mess up and they complete the pass, they're not getting anything out of the training, or they're not getting enough out of the training. And I'll sit there, I'll be like, okay, sweet. I'm glad that you're pumped because you hit 10 out of 10 reps, and that's progress because last time maybe they hit 6 out of 10 reps. I'm like, but now we need to go back to only completing 7 or 6 out of 10 reps, right? We need to be making more mistakes, something you can remind yourself with. If you want me to just give you like a cue to try out your next training session, I know you might have a lot of ideas watching this video, but 115% speed, 115% speed, just beyond discomfort, and you should be making mistakes, okay? And that's how you're gonna get the most out of your training. That's how your brain is going to develop that myelin, what it's called. You can look it up as well, and that's what's gonna develop your skill, okay? So now you have those 3 things. And then lastly, how to throw all of your progress away, okay? I'm just joking, but you know, this is what consistency actually, excuse me. Consistency, this is how you get consistency, right? And what not to do is throw away all your progress. So how are we gonna not throw away all of our progress? We have to fight against the shiny object syndrome, right? If you're anything like me, then in high school, like dude, I was obsessed with footy. I was obsessed with the game, right? And rightly so. It got me to a pretty high level once I learned how to manage it correctly. But I would be watching soccer, I'd be watching my teammates, I'd be inspired by opponents that were good. And I'd always be trying to like take these like little things from each player I saw and like try to implement it into my game. But all that meant was that I was not developing my own identity, and I was just copying a part of everyone else's identity, right? And so what you can do is as you train, and for, like, you can see how this is a system, because like if you don't have the right GPS and you don't have the right thing that you're focusing on in your game, then you're going to be, you know, fighting against like doing something else. You're going to be like, oh no, I'm not going to change anything else. And then you're just going to keep doing the wrong thing. Okay, so you have to make sure your 10 out of 10 is correct. You have to make sure that you're doing the right things. You have to make sure you're having the right training habits. And then we have to make sure, lastly, that we're doing this and we're staying consistent. So the shiny object syndrome is like what I described, like that desire to be like, okay, like I saw Sergio Busquets do this, or I saw Lamine Yamal do this, so I'm going to try to copy that in my game. And then you're just being everybody else except yourself. Okay, so once you decide who you are as a player, and once you start to see results, you start to train like that, you start to obsess about it, just one moment, maybe 2 moments in your game, you start to implement in your training, then you have to fight against the urge, like, okay, sweet. Like, you know, one of my athletes, like, and I'll talk about him later, Lyndon, like, he's really good at getting on his left foot. We defined his IGM, his 10 out of 10 self, getting on his left foot and driving forwards. Now he started to win. He started to get offers. Like, the kid got 2 offers in 48 hours the other day. So he's having success, and now it's my job and his job just to stay focused on getting really, really good at it. Because very easily he could be like, hey, I'm gonna work my weak foot finishing now. I'm not saying you can't do that at all, but it's like, hey, like maybe I'm gonna just focus on, like, I liked how Sergio Busquets like is super composed and he plays like kind of slow. It's like, no, like everything that you just did, and the reason you have success is because you're driving at guys fast, right? So we have to fight against the urge to be somebody else once we decide the thing that we're trying to lock on to. So fighting against the shining object syndrome, everything's gonna tell you, and your mind is gonna tell you to switch up as much as possible. You have to stay focused on the thing that's going to make you great in your training, watching it in your film, implementing your team training as well in your games, okay? I have other videos talking about that. Going hand in hand with that, you probably don't need to do that many drills. Like, to a certain extent, you have to enjoy the game, you know, and I give my athletes like a variety of drills to do, but in reality, it's only like maybe 3 or 4 drills that you really need to be doing each week. Right? And like a lot of times, like for the guys that are definitely like playing at the higher level that I'm working with, it's like, look, like, you know, I just had an athlete, like I gave him 5 drills and like 4 of them are like pretty much the same thing. And he's just committed to doing that. And he's going to go sign a pro contract soon because he's committed to this process so much. You know, you don't have to do that many drills. And that's why, like, if you get stuck in the drill rabbit hole thinking, like, I have people text me like, hey, Chris, like, do you have any drills that I can do to work on like my game as a 6? And I'm just like I zoom out and I'm like, dude, like I need to take you through like this. I need to take you through like, this is like the last YouTube video I made. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't work like that. Okay. So it's not just like the drill that's going to save you. But you can just have a few moments and you can probably just repeat sessions. Like I used to think that I had to like come up with a new session every single day. It's like, no, you don't switch up how you bench every single week. You just do the same bench and you just add more weight. You know what I mean? So why would it be any different with training? So don't think you should do so many different drills. Find the ones that are right for you and do those, okay? I tell athletes all the time, like, yes, like, we just have to do the boring work at times. Have fun, do your ball mastery to warm up, hit the wall sometimes, like if it's like the day before a game or something, or go out and have a partner session. But like, we need to make sure we're hitting our non-negotiables of like certain drills. Like, this is what matters, okay? You don't need to do that many different drills. And then the last thing, and there's more on this in the other video. Again, it's my last video, not the one where I'm just sitting at my desk, but I have like another board pulled up like this. It's called like How to Dominate the Midfield. And it's implementation. So you take all this that you're doing in your training, you have to implement it. And I have this rule, and I just came up with it myself. I think it's true. It's maybe, it's definitely not 100% scientifically backed, but it's like, if you do a rep in your individual training, say you take that rep where you just drive forwards at pace at the center back. Maybe you're a 10, maybe if you're an 8, it's like receiving on the half turn and hitting a channel ball or diag, whatever it is. If you do it in your individual training, it's worth like 1. It's worth like 1 skill point. If you do it in team training, it's worth like a 3 skill point. You know what I mean? It's worth 3 times more because you have to get over the flinch of doing that thing. You have to like push through and be like, okay, I'm hitting this diag, and you have to trust yourself. You're like, oh my God, like I actually did it. You know what I mean? So it's worth 3 times there. The 10x rule is like, you know, if you do it in game, right? Because it's harder in game, there's more pressure in game. Like, you can't screw up in your own mind as much. 10 skill points if for doing the same exact reps. So that's why it's so important to implement into your team training and games. So you can see, and maybe in between here is like 5x is like a scrimmage, like either within your own club team or against another club team, like a practice kind of, maybe. But you can see like we need to be implementing things into our team training and games, or else you're just gonna keep doing it on your own. You're never gonna get better. And like, this is kind of gonna shatter your belief if you think that like, okay, like I want to be this player who hits long balls. I want to be the player who does 1v1 moves, but like I just need to train it more and more and more on my own before I have the confidence to do it in a game. But if you can just do it in a game, you make up for like 10 reps doing it on your own. You know what I mean? If you do it in team training constantly, it's like gonna exponentially increase your progress. So you have to do the move, and you have to implement it as soon as possible to really ingrain it into your mind. And then when you do it in games, you can kind of hold that memory back into your team training and be like, okay, this is what it felt like. This is that pressure. This is like when I got nervous. And then your team training can be way more realistic as well. It's a constant cycle. Right? But I see that other video if you want to really learn how to get over that flinch, and when I say flinch is like that feeling of hesitation before you do the thing, and then you know, how you can improve throughout season, especially. I know a lot of you guys are going into high school or club season. I'm going to run through some examples, and I know this video is running a little bit longer than I wanted to, but this is Graham. I'm going to show you like how we got through how we took him through this process, and you know why he's seeing these results right now, because we've literally intentionally done this every step of the way. So the 3 parts, so 10 out of 10, the training habits, and then staying consistency. So first of all, his 10 out of 10, we looked at his game, and he was already consuming a lot of my stuff before he joined the program. He was already recording his reps. He was already doing like intentional reps to the best of his ability. So he already came in like having a better idea of who he was as a player. And then we looked at it and we really went all in. I was kind of like, yeah, like giving him like the approval, I guess, of him. And like what he was really good at was doing like these De Jong moves, like these step through moves, these, and if you don't know like De Jong move, like you can look it up, you'll know what I mean. Or these like quick separations, like he's super silky, low to the ground. He has a good center of gravity, like getting out, and be able to drive forwards and go impact the game more. So that was his 10 out of 10 self, and he saw that. And this kid is obsessive about his 10 out of 10 self. That's why he's improved so much so quickly. And the second thing is just having game realistic reps. You can see here, like this is how we looked at the film to decide and give examples of like what he needs to be doing. And then this is him, like he would send in the clips, and I'll talk about like, hey, like this is when you're slowing down. This is when the step is not as realistic. This is how we can make it more realistic and do it faster. And you know, that's how he was able to see a lot of progress, because we were obsessive, we were dialed in, constantly looking at this and staying focused. And then the last thing was avoiding that shiny object syndrome. It would have been very easy for him to go and play, and like, you know, he was going to these ID camps. He went to like a Kentucky ID camp. It would have been easy for him to be like, hey, like those guys are so physical, and like all they do is like use their body so much, and be like, okay, I'm gonna do that, right? And like, I'm not saying that he was gonna do that, but I know for me, like I would have temptations to switch what I was focusing on and switch my process. But I was like, I would have said, again, we didn't do this, but like, hey, like, no, like, this is what's been working. This is what you put time and effort into. This is what comes easy and naturally to you that other guys don't have. So we need to be very, very, very great at it. So we just focus and we repeat reps. And now I think one of my favorite screenshots is this. And I don't have any ones about like, you know, I actually didn't like screenshot any of like, hey, like I got an assist, scored, or whatever it was from the season. I just focus on like, you can tell he knows that his identity is building. He has confidence in everything that he's doing because he knows who he's supposed to be as a player. He defined his 10 out of 10 so clearly, and he's trying it more in games. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. This was like a while ago when like he first really implemented it, which is crazy to see. He first really implemented it. This is uncomfortable. You have to get over the flinch, but he used that like 10x to 3x to 1x rule. So he's implementing it into games. And then now he's like excited to use it. He has a clear picture. This is like a moment from the film that we analyzed where like he was really doing it very well. And this is us like looking at pro games of guys doing it. And then, you know, him having a schedule, you can see here, like this is interesting. Like he has like 1 session, 2 sessions, and then we're repeating it. Like we're not switching up. We're not doing 40 different things. We have a partner session. We have like touches, whatever, just to keep the game fun. But like we just repeat over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. And we stay focused and we avoid the shiny object syndrome to switch up. Lastly, this is my guy Lyndon. For him, his 10 out of 10, we saw in like what he was good at, what came easy to him. This kid is really, really fast. This kid's really fast. So it was just like, hey, get on your left foot and drive at speed. Like I'm looking at the clips, and again, similar to that first example I gave early in the video, like I never really talked to you about like driving at speed that much. Like we worked on that pretty early on, but like we worked on it because I was like, you can go so much faster. Like that was something that came easy to him. And his left foot, like he's just good at his left foot. Left foot, you know, you can, you know, like you know how left-footed players can be. Like you can put center backs off balance, you can play on both sides, whatever it is. So it's like, okay, let's just do that. So 10 out of 10 is his left foot driving at speed. And what he did was apply pressure, to himself every single team training session. Like if you look, I don't know if they're here, like this is us looking at some of his clips on Zoom, and we would look at his training, and like you can literally tell like he's taking that deep breath before. He's like seeing it. He's getting like, he's like messing the rep up, and then he's like, okay, I'm coming back. He's walking back, and you can tell his mind is going because he's not here. He's not here in this situation with cones and no keeper. He has a center back here. He's a keeper here. He has his teammate here. Like that's how he's had success with the training, because he does it so realistically. He gets this part so well. And then lastly, with the consistency, like he's always asking himself, like this is funny. Like we had a Zoom the other day, and he said at the ID camp, he thought, what would Chris say when he got on the ball? Like it literally went through his mind, which is amazing. That means we're talking about it enough. And we're always going to keep talking about it. But he was like, what would Chris say? Because we've talked so much. Drive at the center backs. Make the center backs scared. Like make them backpedal. That's what he's great at. Don't listen to anyone at any ID camp who's telling you that that's not what's going to work at the next level. We had that conversation as well. Like that, if it's working at this level, it's going to work at the next level. Don't let anybody limit you that you can't compete at the next level doing the thing that you're great at. Like what? That's ridiculous. Okay, so we did that. His 10 out of 10, he got his training habits, and we got him dialed in throughout just the program. And we literally recoded his mind. And, you know, when he first started working with me, he got cut from his ECNL team. He started working with me, went back to tryouts, was told he was the best player at the tryouts, and he's scoring in USL2 games. And this is a while ago, but he's probably up to 3 or 4 offers now. And he's talking with a few high-level teams, which I won't share yet, but I'm really excited about to see. But you can see here, big thing is on the way. And the biggest thing is like he has a process now, and he understands his mentality, and he understands himself better, which is one of the best things to see. Just because they both applied and they both got results because they did these 3 things. Okay, and this is just like to do with the training. Obviously, there's a lot more to like this whole process. We have to do some work recoding and rewiring your own mindset with how you play, your relationship with mistakes. We have to make sure we're looking at the film to see these moments in action and correcting them and putting it back in the training session, saying like, hey, this is where you got it wrong in the game, so we need to train like this differently. And obviously there's a lot more. So hopefully you got a golden nugget from this. Again, define your 10 out of 10, have good training habits, and then stay consistent and stop losing focus. When you get these right, you're going to see a big difference. If you did find this useful and you want my help literally implementing this into your life and into your training myself, then you can message me on Instagram, or you can apply through the link below in the YouTube, and we can have a conversation, hop on a Zoom, and then see if you'd be a good fit for the program. Again, like if you're not a high school or a high level center mid, you're not trying to play at least college or Division I, then this isn't really for you. Okay, so let me know, and if you have any questions, just shoot me a message on Instagram, follow me on Instagram, and I go a little bit more in depth on some of these things. But for the most part, shoot me a message, apply through the link below if you want to apply straight to work with me, and we'll chat soon.